Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, afternoon / evening, wherever and whenever you're watching this. I'm your boy, the HOD of the PSP, and welcome to episode 76 of our Pitchside podcast. Follow us on social media, I'm at PSP on Twitter, Pitchsidepod on Instagram, and listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates, and join us for more. You're absolutely welcome. It was an eventful Saturday across Europe, and we're going to kick things off, of course, from the Premier League. 4 matches took place yesterday. Of course, Wolves defeated Leeds United on Friday. On Saturday, it kicked off with Southampton versus Chelsea at the St. Mary's. Of course, this game, I think, despite the result that is the 1-1 result, despite the fact that Chelsea dominated the game, despite Southampton really not getting a lot in terms of scoring scoring opportunities, but still got enough to to get a draw. The only shot on goal was the goal itself from Takumi Minamino in the 30th, in the 33rd minute of the game. Yet the biggest story here isn't exactly Chelsea's, let's say, poor finishing in front of the target, really, for all of the opportunities that they had, with Werner missing chances, Mason Mount missing chances, Marcos Alonso missing chances. The story is Callum Hudson-Odoi being substituted and being subbed on in the 46th minute, but only to be subbed off later on in the 76th minute, or half an hour later. Now, obviously, people were mind-boggled by this decision on the pitch, but after the game, of course, Thomas Tuchel went on and said he didn't like his body language, didn't like the way he dealt with some counter-attacks, and I think this is coming from a coach that likes Hudson-Odoi, that actually wants Hudson-Odoi to play more and sees him as one of the best players in the squad. It is simply outstanding to mind. And I mentioned this. And I mentioned this earlier episodes of the podcast. I said that Thomas Tuchel is critical, and I think this is the first proper instant where we see that the nature of Thomas Tuchel as a critical coach, as a coach that is not afraid to voice his opinions, and certainly is not afraid to take the big decisions. And that should reflect on the dressing room with two things. Either should reflect positively, as it sort of makes them really sort of respect the manager in a way, and know that any sort of bad mood they would be into, attitude they would have, it would affect them, and it would be subbed off, and they will not have their place in the squad pretty much, or it will reflect badly, and will start some sort of dissension already in the ranks, and the coach and Thomas Tuchel barely had 10 games under his belt now with Chelsea. I think aside from that, nothing big in the game. Nothing big in terms of the story in that game. Mason Mount scored a penalty in the 54th minute to equalise, and Chelsea tried and half-turned after that, but they couldn't manage anything significant. A victory, or a draw, that would keep them at 4th with 43 points, and would give West Ham a chance to leap over them today if they manage to beat Tottenham. Burnley drawn against a 10-man West Brom 0-0. Sami Ajayi, the hero of West Brom in the last couple of fixtures, got sent off in 30 minutes, and it was a proper horse fight at a certain point. West Brom with the better side, but still they didn't come out with the win. 0-0 it ended at the Turf Moor. Of course, the biggest game on Saturday, and the big focus is on the derby, the Merseyside derby, Liverpool versus Everton. And, really I don't want to say a lot more than what I said in the review. Everton had a terrific defensive performance. Carlo Ancelotti had a brilliant game management. It was incredible, like the way his formation was fluid, moving from the 4-4-2 to a 3-5-2 swiftly, or a 5-3-2 swiftly, without missing an absolute beat. It was incredible. Richarlison was so hard working. The midfield was incredible. Abdullah Doucouré and Tom Davies and Andre Gomes were absolutely fantastic. The defensive performances from the three at the centre-half position in Godfrey, Keane and Holgate was incredible. Overall, this was a well-earned, well-deserved victory against a Liverpool side that didn't feel at any point of the game that, they will caused troubles. Like, they didn't exactly make Everton feel uncomfortable on the ball or off the ball. Everton tried to pick up their momentum, tried to pick some moments where they find spaces behind the centre halves, and of course Henderson's injury is a big turning point in the game, losing not just a player but a leader. And again, it's not exactly in terms of him being a centre half, because I don't think he added a lot, but in terms of him being a leader on the pitch, they seriously lost one of the biggest players on their squad, and that role, I think, left empty after the exit of Jordan Henderson. Liverpool couldn't quite recover, and, Everton got a penalty, which will spark debate until the cows come home, really, on whether Alexander-Arnold was clipping Calvert-Lewin. Should have been an earlier foul for him, hitting the back of the head of Alexander-Arnold. There's a whole debate about it. Well, the long story short is, Everton deserved their victory. They got what they needed from the game, and I think Liverpool this was a false dawn. The game against Leipzig was a false dawn, so they should review a lot of things. They should try and rethink a lot of what they're doing at the moment. Liverpool, Everton now find themselves on joint 6 with Liverpool, same number of points, 40 points. That is crazy to think of at the beginning of the season. If you told anyone that Liverpool would be 6th at this point and would be very, very in very, very danger of losing their Champions League spots, I would tell you, you're crazy. But that's where we are now. After 25 rounds of the Premier League, it is happening, and Liverpool are in jeopardy of losing their Champions League spots to Everton or to any other club, or to West Ham above them. Anyway, of course, later on in the night, Fulham defeated Sheffield United 1-0. It was a single goal from Ayatollah Lukman to give them the all-important 3 points against Sheffield United, who are drowning more and more and more at the bottom of the table. Fulham now, although that wouldn't do much to them, but still, it's important 3 points for them. 22 points for Fulham at 18, and Sheffield United, of course, certainly going to be relegated with 11 points at the very bottom of the table, behind West Brom with 3 points at 14. Of course, the fixtures continue today. West Ham Tottenham kicks off things in the afternoon. Aston Villa Leicester later on. Arsenal City 6:30 p.m. and Man United Newcastle 9 p.m. Brighton Crystal Palace, of course, finished the fixture, or round up the fixture on Monday. From the Premier League to the Bundesliga, and also it was eventful in Germany. It was eventful for a lot of reasons. Borussia Mönchengladbach lost against Mainz 2-1. Onizuo makes it 1-0 for Mainz inside only 10 minutes. Lars Stindl equalised in 26 minutes. And in the 86 minutes, Stöger makes it 2-1 for Mainz. This is a game that Borussia Mönchengladbach completely dominated in terms of possession, but they couldn't be dangerous, they couldn't be effective, and that is not what you want from a side that is going to be facing Manchester City in the Champions League in the midweek, because if you're facing Man City and you're not this effective, you're going to be losing a lot, and you're going to get spanked on the other side. For Mainz, it's an important victory for them that will help them on the table, really. I mean, at least make the gap smaller between them and the other clubs in the relegation zone, Arminia Bielefeld. Namely, of course, the good thing for them is that Schalke, will get to them later on, are quite low on the points tally. And of course, the biggest news coming from Germany is Eintracht Frankfurt defeating Bayern Munich. And I'm going to repeat myself here, and I don't want to sound repetitive, but I will do it. Bayern Munich need to get a right back. That right back position needs to be sorted out. Playing Süle there isn't exactly the solution. I mean, I thought it would play Kimmich somehow in there. He would find sort of form to play with Kimmich up there. Eintracht Frankfurt were great in the first half. They dominated. They were actually better than Bayern in the first half, and, they had more shots, they had more attempts. Bayern were quite lifeless in the first half, at least in the first 30 minutes or so, they were quite lifeless. Eintracht Frankfurt managed to score 2 goals in that period where Bayern Munich were lifeless. First goal was superb movement from Kostic and from Kamada in between the defenders, scoring the first goal. And then, of course, the second goal was all about the individual finisher, Amin Younes, cutting inside, showing Süle the outside of his right foot, and, rifling in the top corner, no chance for Neuer saving that. Bayern Munich scored in the 52nd minute, and everybody thought, well, here is the usual comeback, but never. How this affects them again, the game against Lazio, I don't know. I mean, Lazio probably are the same. They have sort of the same quality of Eintracht Frankfurt. They have speedy players who can run in those spaces. And boy, howdy, do they have a centre forward in Ciro Immobile. They have the likes of Correa who could support Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. They have Luis Alberto. It's going to be incredible. I mean, Manuel Lazzari as well. I mean, he is willing to run all day long. And if for some reason, Simone Inzaghi decides to switch him on the right-hand side, and you play in Sola there, it's gonna be, bad. Hopefully, Hansi Flick realizes he needs to change the personnel, needs to change the lineup and change the style before that game against Lazio, or else Bayern Munich, I'm not gonna say could be in danger of being eliminated, because I still think they would go through somehow with pure raw power, but I think it will be a little bit just harder than what it used to be for Bayern when the draw was announced in December. Köln lost to Stuttgart 1-0 at home. The only goal from Stuttgart coming in the 49th minute from Kaladzic. Kaladzic now Kaladzic now is on 10 goals for the season. He's low-key one of the top goalkeepers in the season. I mean, yes, that's quite a big margin between him and the actual top goal scorers in the Bundesliga. The likes of Weghorst with 14, 17 for Haaland, 18 for Silva, 26 for Lewandowski. But still, he's one of the most promising strikers in the Bundesliga this season. Union Berlin managed to stun Freiburg away from home, of course. Prommel scoring the only goal, Grisha Prommel scoring the only goal for Union Berlin in the 64th minute. This was a game that Union Berlin completely bossed around. They completely dominated the game. They had a little more chances. They had the more dangerous opportunities. Freiburg couldn't do anything significant, and Union Berlin get an incredible victory that will move them up to 7th now, joint 7th with Borussia Mönchengladbach, of course taking advantage of that loss. Freiburg are 31 points behind them. They could still sneak into a Europa League spot, I think, but Borussia Dortmund seem to be, above them at the moment. And speaking of Dortmund, of course, the Riviera derby, which in a normal situation would have been the bigger match than Eintracht Frankfurt Bayern, but in this season and in the last couple of seasons, and since, last season really, when Schalke dropped incredibly in the level, Schalke now, again, surely going to be relegated. There's no way in hell that they will be saving themselves from relegation, but but still it feels sad to see a team like Schalke lose like that 4-0 against Dortmund. Dortmund deservedly, of course, of their victory. We're not going to be even debating that fact. Deserving of their victory, they dominated the game. Although Schalke started a little bit stronger. They started the game. I mean, they were decent for the first 20-25 minutes before the goals came on, but when you end up 2-0 down at the break, and with such beautiful goals, by the way, the second goal from Erling Haaland in particular was, it's a goal of the season contender. That's a Puskás Award contender for the 2021 year. It's an incredible volley. The defender really made a big mistake by letting him try the volley on his left foot. Now, I think he's shown that he has a lot of arsenal, a lot of artillery in his game. Erling Haaland is growing to be the absolute purest striker in world football at the moment, and certainly, when people call him the next big thing, him and Mbappe, it's not an exaggeration. The guy is on fire at the moment. In the Bundesliga, his 17th goal, as we mentioned earlier, and helping Dortmund to an important victory after that victory against Sevilla in the Champions League. Rafael Guerreiro added the third goal from a beautiful link-up play, and Erling Haaland, of course, managing a tap-in, showing both extremes in one game. For the fourth goal, Borussia Dortmund, they needed this victory after the string of bad matches they had in the Bundesliga, and certainly picking up momentum of the Champions League, and it came against the right opponent. at the right time. They're 6th on the table, 36 points. They're quite far from Champions League spots, but they might sneak enough performances to get there. Eintracht Frankfurt, who we don't know if Eintracht Frankfurt have the stamina to keep up and to keep going in this battle for the European Champions League spots. Wolfsburg as well. But Wolfsburg, I think, have enough, but it's all about Eintracht Frankfurt. They have a lot of financial problems as well, and they were forced to sell a couple of players. I mean, yes, they had Jovic back, but they had him on loan, really. They couldn't get him for a proper transfer fee. We'll see how things pan out for Dortmund. We'll see how things pan out for them in the Champions League as well, because, I mean, I still think they won't go that far in the Champions League. It's a tiny chance that they would win it, a very tiny chance. But, I mean, they need to go through the league system, and it looks like, you know, the 4th spot is going to be pretty harsh for them unless Frankfurt and Wolfsburg make a complete collapse in the next couple of weeks, to allow Dortmund to reduce the gap on points behind them. Bundesliga fixtures, of course, continue today. Augsburg face Bayern Leverkusen, Hertha Berlin face RB Leipzig. Exciting one for RB Leipzig, of course. Big chance for them to reduce the gap. They're 2 points behind Bayern, and Hoffenheim face Werder Bremen. And it wasn't big boys and big clubs struggling in the Premier League or the Bundesliga only, it was also big boys struggling in La Liga. Kick things off on Friday, of course, with Real Betis managing to defeat Getafe on Friday, of course, 1-0. On Saturday, things kicked off with Elche defeating Eibar 1-0 as well. The goal coming on from Dani Calvo in the 33rd minute, giving Elche important 3 points to just lift them, slightly behind their opponents, in fact, Eibar, in the bottom of the table. Then, of course, things kicked off properly in the Liga by Atletico Madrid hosting Levante. Now, they met in the midweek, and we talked about the fact that Atletico Madrid dropped points against Levante 1-1, and they weren't the better side in that game. Guess what? They weren't the better side in this game as well, at least for the first half. In the first half, Levante had a lot of opportunities to score. They had a couple of opportunities to score. Atletico Madrid tried to be dominant, tried to be sort of, Simeone made changes clearly, and starting the likes of Renan Lodi, Kondogbia, getting there, playing almost the 3-4-3 formation, changing the system from the match against Levante in midweek. Levante themselves resting 7 players in comparison to the last match they played against Atletico Madrid. They managed a good formation. They defended really well, and they had a couple of opportunities where they could have scored against Atletico Madrid. But the real momentum booster here was the goal for them. Of course, it was counted as an own goal for Hermoso in the 30th minute, and from there on, I think the motive of the game was clear, and the pattern of the game was clear. Atletico going to be attacking, and did they try to attack? They tried, and Suarez hit the post, and there were a couple of opportunities where Diego Cardenas, the goalkeeper from Levante, made a couple of saves, but overall, it wasn't to be. And in the 92nd minute, with Oblak out, Atletico Madrid trying desperately to save a point in the game. Levante go on the other side, and Jorge de Frutos scores a goal with a gaping net to him. Of course, runs across and scores into an empty net. 2-0 for Levante. Levante pull a double over Atletico Madrid in 3 days, and I think it's not even the Levante fans are the happiest ones. It's the Real Madrid and Barcelona fans are the happiest, because that would reduce the gap after the matches. Reduce the gap to 3 points, and this is going to be incredible. 3 points for Real Madrid, and of course for them later on defeating Real Valladolid. And Barcelona, they have 9 points that could go to 6 if they manage a win on Sunday. Speaking of Real Madrid, of course, we get to them. Valencia defeated Celta Vigo 2-0 in the game. Of course, the goals came in late on from Vallejo and Kevin Gameiro in the 94th and 98th minute. It was quite the lengthy stoppage, of course. A bit of a scuffle on the pitch. Blanco got sent off from Celta Vigo. A couple of yellow cards were distributed and the game was halted for a couple of minutes. And late on, of course, in the stoppage time, it was Vallejo scoring the opener and Kevin Gameiro making it 2 for Valencia. A victory that is, guess what, the first for Valencia in the last 3 games or so. Of course, the second in the last 5, and it has been a while since they stringed a couple of victories back to back anyway. And in Valladolid, of course, I don't know what to say. Valladolid were the better side. Man of the match was earned by Thibaut Courtois, despite the fact that Casemiro scored the goal on the other side. But man of the match was earned by Courtois. Courtois had to made 5 proper saves in the game, and that shows you how bad Real Madrid played. And of course, this always excusable down to injuries, the absences, of course. Benzema not being there in the attack it makes so much difference when Real Madrid do not make any shot on target in the first 45 minutes. You know that you're lacking a presence and a power in that attack that would help you make those kind of opportunities. And Karim Benzema missing for potentially a month and missing probably on both legs in the Champions League against Atalanta. That's going to be really, really rough. Already Sergio Ramos is going to be missing both those legs, and you have the likes of Federico Valverde injured. Neto Militao. This is going to be a rough opportunity, and Real Madrid fans, don't get this twisted. This victory doesn't give you any good signs against Atalanta. Atalanta ain't Valladolid. And if you're going to give Atalanta 5 shots on target, I can bet you they would score at least once or twice in those 2 shots, and those 5 shots. And you're going to that game without your best attacker. Let's face it, without your best attacker, without your most prolific presence up front in Karim Benzema, starting with Asensio, Mariano and Vinicius Jr. How you expect this kind of trio to make a shot on target in the first 45 minutes? And I know Asensio is probably the better of the 3, and that might sound like a wild opinion to say, but Asensio is the better of the 3. Mariano has been in the fridge too much. Vinicius Jr. has been up and down, more than up really, in his Real Madrid career so far. Casemiro was the only positive in that midfield. Toni Kroos was fine, as well as Modric, but again, when you don't have that presence of Karim Benzema in front, a player who could pull defenders, a player who could play wide, his link-up play is absolutely superb, his positioning is always on point. You lack, 70-80% of the danger that you have in the attack. And, as crazy as that idea sounds, Valladolid missed on 3 points against Real Madrid. Valladolid missed on a victory considering the circumstances of the game. They could have done away with Real Madrid. In the first half they were better, and they completely outplayed Real Madrid in that first half. They had 3 shots on goal, 6 goal attempts. Despite having less of possession, they were the more dangerous side. And in the second half, they had more possession than the first half, and they were really dangerous. At least Real Madrid, picked up the 3 points. That's the important thing. They picked up the 3 points thanks to a Casemiro goal from set piece, played well by Toni Kroos in the 65th minute, and that's about it. The good thing is 3 points, 3 points behind Atletico Madrid on the table, and they have an opportunity, to be back on the title race, but that doesn't bode well for the game against Atalanta. That doesn't give good signs for Real Madrid fans. You're missing Benzema, potentially going to be playing with the same trio against Atalanta, and guess what? As bad as Atalanta defending could be sometimes, with a bit of effort from the midfield, that is your attack done. They're going to be isolated, there won't be spaces enough for them. If the wing-back stuck in with helping the central defenders of Atalanta, not exactly the quickest or the paciest centre-halves, but still, when you give them someone like Mariano Diaz and Asensio and Vinicius on the other side as your front 3, they're not going to give you too much to help you in those kind of situations. Anyway, again, the important thing for Real Madrid is the 3 points, being 3 points behind Atletico on the table. Atletico, of course, still with the game in hand. If they win that, that might change a lot of things, but hopefully for the Real Madrid fans and for the Barca fans, of course, that they don't win that game. The fixtures of La Liga continue on Sunday. Barcelona face Cadiz, kicking things off, of course, on Sunday. Real Sociedad facing Alaves, Huesca facing Granada, Atletico Bilbao faces Villarreal, and on Monday it is Osasuna versus Sevilla. Finishing off quickly with the Serie A. 3 games were played yesterday. Of course, 2 games were played on Friday, kicking things off. It was Torino defeating Cagliari 1-0 away from home, 3-0 for Fiorentina against Spezia, a side that defeated Milan last week. How crazy it is, Serie A this season. Lazio defeated Sampdoria, of course, on Saturday, kicking things off at the Olympic. It was a rough and tough game for Simone Inzaghi's boys, but Luis Alberto bailed them out of it in the 24th minute. And, after that, pretty much Sampdoria played, as the better side. They were better in the second half than the first one. Lazio, they will get the 1-0 victory. They will take it. They will take those 3 points. That will, set them at least pretty close to the top table conversation. Champions League spots in the 40 with 43 points ahead, of course, of the fixtures on Sunday. That will see, of course, the Milan derby and Juventus in action. Genoa drawn against Verona 2-2. In their stadium in Luigi Ferraris. Ilic opened the scoring in the 17th minute. Shomurodov equalised in the 48th minute. Faraioni made it 2-1 in the 61st minute, but Badel equalised very late on in the stoppage time, 94th minute, given the point to Genoa. Sassuolo drawn against a 10-man Bologna. Soriano scored in the 17th minute for Bologna, but Hickey managed to get himself sent off in the 30th minute. Francesco Caputo equalised in the 52nd, but Sassuolo, despite their possession, despite their complete and utter domination in the game, they couldn't score the second goal. They had a ridiculous 32 shots on target. 32 shots attempts, really. 11 on target, 11 off target, and 10 blocked. It's just crazy numbers for Sassuolo in that game. 10 goalkeeper saves from the Bologna keeper, Skorupski. Sassuolo now get 3 points, or get the 1 point rather from this game, a point that will keep them in the mid-regions of the table, 35 points behind Atalanta and Napoli, 40 points. Of course, Atalanta and Napoli go head-to-head, clashing, of course, today, and that is after the Milan derby, which comes after the Parma Udinese on Saturday. On Sunday, Milan Inter, as we mentioned, the derby on 3 p.m, Atalanta Napoli 6 p.m. kickoff, Benevento versus Roma, and tomorrow on Monday, Juventus faces Crotone. So this could be pretty crammed, top 4 and top 5, top 6 in this Serie A by the end of the weekend. If Atalanta manage to win, or and Roma manage to win, Juventus manage to win, it's going to be very, very crammed competition for those top 4 spots in Serie A. That's it from me for this episode. Like, share, comment on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from these from the match recaps and these podcast episodes, and all the content on the channel. Follow us on social media, SitePSP on Twitter, Pitchsidepod on Instagram, and listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. Until the next time, I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP, and I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.